As summer comes to an end, school resumes amid a terrible reality: mass shootings. Last year, deadly shootings happened on a weekly basis.
And nowhere was their impact felt as keenly as Florida. In the wake of Parkland, a local man believes he's found a solution. On Your Side's Ann Schindler has an exclusive look at a game changer and a lifesaver.
996 Parent, I think it was a signal 35. Parent, I have a shotgun in the hallway laying on the ground. Did we lock the school down?
The bloodshed was minimal.
Down on the ground.
The body count, 0.
996 Parent, I have one in custody.
In that respect, the Ocala school shooting in April 2018 was an outlier.
Put your hands up.
That didn't make it any less terrifying.
From the boy that was in this classroom, and he said that he heard screams and crying in the other classrooms while they were piling up these desks.
Dale Ryan has no children of his own, but has been deeply troubled by the spate of recent school shootings.
I was very much shaken by the Parkland shooting.
He believes most active shooter plans are either impractical.
It's like shooting through butter.
Or silly.
The students are supposed to take the rock and throw it at the guy with the gun.
And almost all plans fail to take into account the disabling panic that students must feel.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Picture this, the shooter's coming into the classroom with one of those rifles, and you got a can of pepper spray.
Ryan began searching for a solution.
Somebody's got to do something.
He began with the same industrial composites he's worked with for 6 decades.
We use natural fiber, we use fiberglass, we use some other ballistic material.
He created a door here, a 130,000 square foot warehouse in Green Cove Springs.
I knew that I could build a composite door that was lightweight and yet extremely effective against pretty much every caliber.
Going hot.
3 weeks ago, he tested it out. Armed with an arsenal of handguns and rifles,
this is a 12-gauge shotgun.
The Green Cove Springs Police Department fired at the door again and again.
And as you could see from earlier, those also did not penetrate the ballistic ability of the door.
Lieutenant Sean Hines knows what guns typically do to a door.
Yeah, they mess it up.
He stopped short of endorsing the door.
This door stopped all of these rounds.
But agreed it could be helpful in a school shooting.
Most of the weapons that we've used today have been used in school shootings, so certainly the AR-15 platform has been.
You'd have to bring in an artillery cannon to go through it.
The door is also equipped with a metal detector and a hidden camera that instantly transmits a photo of whoever trips the alarm.
What you really need is you need advanced information.
AR-15 with 5.56.
That's especially true when minutes are measured in AR-15 magazines. The Parkland massacre took just 6 minutes.
It takes quite a bit of time to do this. Compared to this, that door stops everything.
Ryan recently took his door and his pitch to the school safety conference in Orlando.
We have metal detectors built in every door.
There, strategies for reducing school violence range from militaristic to modest.
Assistance is needed at your grade school.
And from preventative to resigned.
This was shot with an AR-15.
Ryan says his door has the advantage of being both effective and subtle.
I want to get rid of the fear of the intimidation or the reminder every day of what could happen. I want to change it back to the way it was.
That may seem unlikely at a time when school shootings are a weekly incident. But Dale Ryan says his dream is possible. It's 2 seconds away, just on the other side of this door. With photojournalist Nick Marone, Ann Schindler, First Coast News, On Your Side.
And Ryan says his door would cost about $1,500 to produce compared to what a Kevlar-based competitor would charge about $7,000 for. It still would not be cheap. Outfitting Duval County schools alone could cost about $12 million. But Ryan picked up a potential client, a local charter school, at the recent convention. If that sale goes ahead, we're going to bring you news of that installation.